Greetings. I am Pillar Nexus, the Intergladiator, today with Pillar Loves Tabletop Games with Deus. Game for 2 to 4 players. The goal is to have the most victory points at the end through various means. Taking barbarian villages, building temples, resource majorities, and certain effects during the game to get you more victory points. As part of the setup for the game, each player will need their choice of color. Player colors are blue, green, black, and orange. We need to set up the map in the center. Will consist of continent tiles, each with 7 regions. For the barbarian regions, they will get points on them based on the number of surrounding regions. So here's 5. As part of this, you cannot set up a barbarian village adjacent to another one. Note that the continent tiles are double-sided, so you can kind of flip them and see what side you want to end up working with. Yeah. Trying to bring it back together here. It's a very interesting approach to the map tiles. Okay. So this will be set up. Each player, after they've chosen their color, will put 2 of each building type on their board. The only way you can build buildings is if they're on your board and you have the card for them. Any remaining buildings wait off to the side until you gain them through making offerings to the gods. Each player will also start with 1 of each resource: clay, wheat, stone, and wood. As well as 5 money and 5 victory points. Going to keep them secret during the game, so keep them face down. The starting markets for each resource are equal to the number of players times 5. So the starting resources will come from that. So with 2 players, there's only 10 clay and 10 of everything else. So to max out if we split these between the 2 of us, then there's no more we can get. We have to start spending them. Temples are also limited based on the number of players. So when setting up the map, use the number of continents based on the number of players as well. 4 for 2, 6 for 3, 7 for 4. You use the same guideline with the temples. So with 2 players, it's only 4. Each player will then also start with 5 cards. These are how you make buildings and make offerings. On your turn, you will have 2 options to choose from. Play the card from your hand. So let's say I want to play small production building. I do have the building for it. I do have 1 money to break at 5. The first building you place goes on an edge region. Ships have to go in the sea, and they are the only ones that can go in the sea. Everything else has to go on land. The first building you place during the game, other than this, is free to is free aside from the regular cost. If you wanted to put another building, say that, on another edge, you would have to give up 3 victory points. So if I did that, I lose those and get that 2 back. But after you place a building, you will resolve the effect of that building after you've resolved everything underneath it from bottom to top. So precisely one of your production buildings produces 1 resource. This region. This farm produces wheat. So that goes to my collection. Take out the cost for the other building. All right, well, say I played that one. And this one lets me exchange wheat and stone for victory points. That's 3. Now let's say I had the wood to build this. So after I place this, I resolve this effect, and then I resolve this effect. Buildings can go adjacent to where you already have the building. They can go in the same area if they can go there. So if I played any of these could all technically go here. I have the appropriate cards to do so. Or they can go adjacent. Or again, they can go to a new edge if you spend the victory points. You are not allowed to have 2 of the same type of building in the same region. You are not allowed to place your own buildings in someone else's region. Nope. You're not allowed to build a building if you don't have it available on your board. And in an odd case, and in the event where you have a military unit with a temple, you are not allowed to move this military unit until you place another building in that region. Eventually, you will find yourself at a point where you cannot play any of your cards, or if you've been in a good position to do it, you've played through all of your cards. If you ever play all of your cards from your hand, what you'll do is you'll draw back up to 5 immediately. If you can't really play or don't really want to play certain cards, what you do is you make an offering. You'll choose a number of cards from your hand to discard, and you'll choose one of them to be the top card. The top card determines which god you are making an offering to. Neptune, Ceres, Minerva, Vesta, Mars, Jupiter. Discarding to Neptune gets you $2 per card, and it gets you a new ship. Discarding the series gets you 1 resource of your choice per card in a new production building. Discarding yellow, Minerva. After you draw back up, you'll draw an additional card for every card you discarded. Vesta, if you discarded at least 1 card, you get a victory point. If you discarded more than 1 card, you get 2 victory points. And another building. Ours, for every card you discard, you choose a building and add it to your board. It lets you really just ramp up your productiveness, be able to get more buildings out there. If you play, if you discard a purple card as your top, you can use any of the others, but only one of them for that effect. After you make your offering, you draw back up to 5. And again, if you discard into yellow, you're going to draw extra cards for the cards you discarded. No matter what happens, you can never draw more than 10 cards. As soon as your hand hits 10, you stop drawing, no matter what's causing you to draw. Now, one of the building options is the temple. It's one of each resource, and it provides an end of the game special victory point bonus. So as long as you can keep clay with this card, each one will be worth 2 points to a maximum of 12. Your first temple, you build it with resources, and it's all good. To build a second temple, you have to have at least one of each other type of building out there. To build a third, you would have to have a second row completed, and so on and so forth. There are two things that trigger the end of the game: building all the temples, or clearing out all the barbarian villages. Barbarian villages are cleared out by surrounding them with player buildings. The player with the most military units takes all the points. If there is a tie for military units, say, got that pulled off, then whoever has more regular buildings, in which case that will go to green. If there's still a tie, I believe the points are split as evenly as possible. Round it up. No, rounding down. So this would become 2 points to each of the two players in that case. When all of these get cleared, that is another way the game can end. So the round the end game is triggered, you go to the end of that round and play one more round, and then we go to end game scoring. It'll score the victory point tokens you still have, your temple bonuses, and if you have the most of a resource or if you are the only player that has the most money, stone, wood, wheat, or clay, you will get 2 points for each one where you have the most. It's a potential 10 victory point jump. And once you figure that out, whoever has the most victory points wins the game. There is no tiebreaker stated in the rulebook, which is very weird because it's very much possible for the points to end up kind of close together, just the way the game tends to go. Because this game is Deus, my personal suggestion is it should come down to who's got the most bonus points from their temples. And then if that's somehow tied, then whoever's got the most points from the resource majorities. And then if that's somehow tied, whoever's built the most stuff on the board, including temples. And if that is somehow tied, I have no clue where to go from there. That's just what I what I would imagine would make sense. If anyone has any other suggestions that they would go with, I'd be curious to hear them. 'Cause This this is a game that I like, and I want to play it more now that I have it again. So what is it that I like about this game? The card system. The fact that not only are you playing cards that help you, but it's giving you presence on a map, and people are fighting over this presence to get access to resources, money, victory points, more buildings sooner, more cards to not have to wait until you're down to like two or one to get more. The I think the one thing I haven't really covered in detail is what each of the types really do for you. Blue cards are about trade. Money for resources, resources for money or points. Green is production. It's what gets you your resources. Yellow is science. It gets you access to buildings and more buildings, more cards. It lets you reactivate certain cards. It looks at what cards you already have as well and gives you stuff for that. Orange, civic, buildings. Depending on how you've really developed in terms of areas and buildings in a region, you stand to get money or points through those. Then we've got your military units, your armies, which let you hurt other players or take advantage of barbarian villages that are still around, or otherwise drain the points from them slowly, or even move your military people around to go somewhere else. As long as they don't abandon the temple, for the guy gets something else there first. It's it's a game that I feel like I can explain it well enough to people playing it for the first time and get the point across and not have a whole lot of issues later. Very interesting with the strategy of your buildings are going to be limited until you start making offerings or get into the science. And then the temple endgame bonus adds an interesting strategy as well because you might have to hold on to resources or build in certain regions or complete rows of cards. It's just a very interesting approach. So, if you've never seen the game before, um, sadly, Troll Games is no longer around. So you may have to check on eBay, and hopefully things aren't too terribly expensive. Or you can just hope to find a fellow player in your gaming group that happens to have a copy. The one thing I still need to look for this game is there's an expansion. I want to find the expansion for it. Hopefully, it's not too late. But if I get the expansion, I want to feature that as well. Yeah, it's a great game. I hope more people can check it out. I very sincerely hope somebody can rescue this game and reprint it because it's awesome. All right, thanks very much for watching. This has been Pillar Nexus, and I will see you next time.